friends, please join us as we explore the back pivot power play. Argen and Tina here with the Game of Argentine Tango. And you might ask, why just the back pivot and not the front pivot? And why single out the pivot for the Empowered Dancer series when you aren't exploring other specific movements? Well, because there is a distinct difference between doing a front pivot and a back pivot biomechanically. That is how our muscles are organized. We have much more ability to rotate our foot this direction, which is the direction we would use for a front pivot. That's pretty easy. Also, we can see where we're going. Lots of reasons that the front pivot's easy. But when I'm going back, we have less ability to turn our foot in this direction, which corresponds to the back pivot. So, is there a trick we can apply to make the back pivot as easy and powerful as the front pivot?
I would like to know this trick.
Okay. So, first, an experiment. And you can do this with a countertop if you don't have a partner to help you with this. So, we'll simply do a side step and then that back pivot and just feel what that feels like. Okay, we've got that anchored in our mind, body, what that feels like. Now this time what we'd like to do is when we take that side step, use the other heel to push into the one that's turning backwards. What's happening here? Well, while this one's pivoting backwards, this one in effect is pivoting forward, so we get the synergistic effect of both sets of hip rotator muscles.
Nice.
So this time what we'll do is, after taking that side step, we'll press the heel of the other foot. Do you have any comments?
This actually fills a couple of different needs. It fills the need of doing this properly, according to, like Argen explained, the way that our muscles are wrapped around our bones. We are using the proper technique to get the most out of them. But quite frankly, aesthetically, it is also much more lovely to have the nice closed leg line. And then also as followers, we are always trying to create movements with that little bit of turnouts. That is what gives our movements the elegance that we're looking for. And so by focusing on actually closing those heels first, see how I'm putting myself in an aesthetically pleasing position, then I can also use that energy as I close to then create a nice and powerful and stable back pivot.
It gives our partner a nice tight axis, which is easy for us to surround and to use to guide other movements.
Mm-hmm. All too often, a lot of times we see back pivots as almost what we like to call endgame, where the follower thinks more about getting that back pivot done than the actual rotation. So if you notice, if I don't focus on actually rotating stabilizing my heavy leg, and I just reach for that back pivot, it puts me also in a very unstable position. I don't have both my toes pointing the same direction. They're not in line with my hips. Everything is kind of out of alignment. Versus if I focus on actually pivoting that supporting leg before reaching for the movement, now I'm much more aligned.
Mm-hmm. So we've given, whoever is doing the back pivot, whether it be the leader or the follower, a trick to make it easier. It's also important to be aware of the geometry. If I let my partner get way out here, I try to send a back pivot, I've got no leverage. My partner doesn't feel where I want them to go.
Mm-hmm.
I want to surround my partner so they have a clear sense of where we're going to be going. And then if we're, say, over a typical figure is here, if I don't go with my partner, if I try to get it here, it doesn't work so well.
No. So would you say that it's fair to say that you're always looking to create kind of a triangle shape with the follower's axis at the point of the triangle and then your 2 feet on either side of the triangle?
Exactly right. Whoever is at the center of the turning figure, they will be the apex of the triangle, and then the other partner will create stability around them.
So if your follower is working on the technique of bringing those heels together and utilizing those muscles properly, then the leader can be focusing on making sure that the geometry that they are creating is also adding pluses to the equation instead of drawing away from the equation. And we also find that beginning to lead the rotation of the back ocho a little bit earlier in the movement versus a forward ocho also can help with making those nice and powerful and well connected to one another.
Right. Whenever we can, we'd like to get as much early notice of what's going to happen.
So say, as opposed to waiting until I get completely settled onto this foot and perhaps even beginning to do something else before beginning the lead of the ocho, Argen's going to try to catch me as soon as I arrive onto that foot, so that way I can begin immediately drawing in that supporting leg and heel to make my back ocho pivot properly, and also it allows me to recognize that I'm going to be on this axis for a little bit, that I don't need to be focused on immediately moving off of the axis.
Right. My embrace is moving to the pivot point, and as it goes, it's starting to surround that point.
Love it. It feels really lovely going into and creating the ochos with that nice scaffolding around me, if you will.
And if we're talking about pausing or giving the necessary intention early at the beginning, it's also useful to note at the end, we want to make sure that our partner has settled in their new direction and that we're both ready to move.
So we hope that you enjoyed this little bonus of how to bring that back power or that back pivot into a more powerful and more stable spot. If you're looking for more ways to practice, improve, and even learn Argentine Tango, join us at gameoftango.com, where you can get access to all of these lessons for free. Free. We hope to see you on the dance floor. Until then, abrazos.